Discover the incredible party video meant for her ex revealed to the billionaire boss by a new initiative. In the heart of Lakeview, whispers filled the air like a summer storm brewing on the horizon. Jenny, a 32-year-old waitress whose life revolved around serving up coffee and warm smiles, never imagined her world would collide with the town's glamorous elite. Struggling to support her ailing mother while dreaming of opening a charming little cafe, she embodied the American dream, caught between hope and heavy reality. But everything changed when someone accidentally shared a light-hearted video she'd made for her ex-boyfriend, a blend of fun moments, silly dances, and heartfelt reflections on resilience and self-discovery. As the video raced through social media, it captured the essence of Jenny's spirit. Cuts of her laughter echoed through the town like an infectious melody, yet mingled with a raw vulnerability, striking an unmistakable chord. Jenny watched, heart pounding, as her ordinary life turned into a public spectacle. The small diner buzzed like a hive with every resident discussing her video. Her steady customers now looked at her with newfound curiosity, igniting a wildfire of rumors about the waitress with dreams bigger than Lakeview's quaint streets could contain. Then came Mark, the town's affluent restaurant chain owner, a man draped in polished confidence, but shadowed by parental expectations that felt like chains. He stumbled upon the viral sensation while hiding away in his grand office, trying to escape the banquet of luxury around him. Impressed and intrigued, he recognized a fierce authenticity in Jenny that resonated with his unfulfilled desires for connection. Their lives were cleverly woven by community bonds, yet the weight of their contrasting worlds loomed large. At every corner of town, laughter echoed as people remembered Jenny's candid moments in that video. She never wanted the attention, but here it was, pulling her into a limelight she hadn't sought. At the annual community fundraiser, they found themselves side by side, two starkly different lives crossing paths. Mark's well-spoken charm clashed against Jenny's warm spirit as they shared awkward but heartfelt moments over pie-eating contests and charity auctions. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But as the town buzzed with admiration and skepticism, the cracks in their connection began to show. Jenny felt the weight of Mark's polished image against her humble roots, questioning if she could ever belong in his world. The community's expectations became almost unbearable, turning their genuine bond into a calculation of status and worth. In a pivotal moment, standing together at the town square, facing critics and skeptical murmurs dripping with doubt, they realized the true strength of their connection was not in their backgrounds, but in their shared dreams of something more meaningful. Jenny's heart raced with uncertainty, her tight chest whispering doubts. Would they manage to bridge the gap between their worlds, or would the shouts of the past drown out their burning hopes? Just as the whispers reached a crescendo, a clash of emotions threatened to tear them apart, leaving the question lingering in the air: could love flourish against the odds of expectation? Resistible connection. The sun dipped low over Lakeview, casting a golden hue that filled the town square with a soft, warm glow. Jenny stood there, heart racing, her breath catching in her throat as she watched Mark across the crowds. Their earlier moment of clarity felt like a balloon caught between tangled hopes and fears ready to burst. The town's watchful eyes weighed on her, thousands of whispers floating through the air like fireflies on a warm night. She clenched her fists, the grip serving as both a shield and a reminder that strength wasn't always loud. Mark, dressed in tailored attire that seemed to highlight the divide between them, looked dapper yet somehow out of place beneath the ordinary canvas of the fundraiser. His smile still reached his eyes, but shadows lurked in the corners. Doubts maybe, or the burden of expectations. It was a fear they both shared, but articulated through different lives. She took a tentative step forward, summoning a smile that she hoped would spark something beyond the murmurs. As she approached, he noticed her and his smile widened. The light in his eyes held promise, yet she couldn't shake the feelings of inadequacy creeping in. What could a girl like her offer to a life so intricately woven with high society? "Jenny!" Mark called, his voice rising over the din. She felt a jolt, both thrilling and terrifying. "Hey," she replied, forcing the words through a clammy throat. The crowd felt different now, their presence pressing alongside her vulnerability. Did they see her as a curiosity, a spectacle? "Did you see that pie-eating contest earlier?" Mark started, laughter bubbling in his eyes. "I thought Mrs. Thompson was going to challenge the whole town to a rematch." Jenny chuckled, her heart fluttering at the warmth of their connection. "Her competitive spirit is something else," she responded. They exchanged stories about the fundraiser, about the people in their lives. For a brief moment, the barriers dissolved into laughter. But soon, the laughter faded into the uncertain air of reality. "You know, Mark, I never asked for any of this attention," Jenny finally blurted, the weight of her words breaking the spell. "The video, it wasn't meant for anyone but me. I never wanted people discussing me like some, I don't know, inspiration or something." He studied her closely, the lines on his face deepening as concern took over his features. "But what you shared was real. It resonated with so many people. By making me a topic of gossip?" Her voice rose, frustration lacing her words. "I'm more than just a storyline, you know." He met her gaze, intense and piercing, as if the world around them fell away. "I see you, Jenny. The criticism doesn't define you. You matter much more than what anyone else thinks." Jenny felt a warmth spreading through her chest. Yet doubt remained, lurking just beneath the surface. "But can you really see us, Mark? Can you really see who I am outside of the video and the image everyone wants to paint?" Their eyes locked, a chasm of unspoken words stretching between them. Just then, the town clock struck, the sound echoing through the streets like a heartbeat. "Jenny," he began, something earnest flickering in his expression, but she suddenly cut him off. "Wait," she whispered, a rush of energy surging through her. "Can we step away for a minute? I need to think, to breathe." As she stepped back, the crowd felt like it had grown denser, the laughter morphing into judgmental glances and hushed whispers. She turned away, desperately seeking silence. Could they really make it through this storm, or were they simply two souls drifting closer only to be torn apart? With a soft sigh, she glanced over her shoulder. Mark was still watching, concern etched across his face. But how could they even start understanding each other in a world so painfully loud? Her heart ached for answers just as the whispers began to rise again. The question lingered in the balance: could true love carve a space in a world filled with societal noise? Would they find a path forward, or would they remain just a fleeting moment in time? Jenny stumbled away from the crowd, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. She needed a moment, a break from the suffocating expectations and prying eyes that felt glued to her back. Every laugh, every comment gnawed at her, fueling a confusion that tangled her emotions into a chaotic knot. Finding a quiet corner behind the old oak tree that stood like a silent guardian, she leaned against its rough bark, grounding herself in its presence. She inhaled deeply, letting the fresh garden scent imbue her thoughts with clarity. Fragments of their earlier conversation played over in her mind. Mark's words echoed softly, "I see you, Jenny." But was he really seeing her, or just the image she projected? The thrum of the fundraiser drifted in the background, becoming a backdrop to her internal battle. Thoughts of Mark grew heated, his bright smile, the way he seemed to understand her pain. And yet, doubt clouded her heart. The gulf between their worlds felt insurmountable. How could he possibly know what it was like to be her? Just when Jenny thought she could breathe again, the sound of laughter, of her name rising from familiar voices, shattered her moment of peace. She peeked around the thick trunk, spotting the town mayor waving with exuberance, his wife at his side, a glittering crown atop her head. They were looking intently at Mark, who animatedly explained something, gesturing with his hands. The scene stung. Why was he still caught in their world? She had asked for space, yet here he was, in the swirl of high society, the aura of wealth wrapping around him like a cloak. She felt small again, the doubts crawling back insidiously. Would he even know what to do once the spotlight faded? In her mind, a flicker of anger ignited. She didn't want to drown in his world, she refused to be pulled under by his silver-coated charm. She turned her back to the scene, clenching her fists once more. Just then, her phone buzzed in her pocket, an unexpected reminder from the chaos waiting out there. It was a message from her best friend, Mia, filled with emojis and excitement about something she wanted to tell her. It seemed so far removed from where she stood, fighting her own insecurity. After a moment of contemplation, she pulled the phone out, hoping for something to pull her from this drowning feeling. As she read through the message, a small smile threatened to break through her worried facade. But even that smile felt thin, wrapped in uncertainty. "I'm here for you if you want to talk," Mia had texted, and that comfort shone like light breaking through heavy clouds. Jenny glanced back at Mark. His laughter was infectious even from over here. His eyes sparkled as he spoke, lighting up the faces around him. But as she watched, she noticed something else in his expression, a longing, perhaps, that mirrored her own. Maybe he was searching for a connection in all of this, just like her. The question tugged at her heart: could she really risk opening herself up to the possibility of understanding? In that instant, her heart pulsed with both fear and anticipation. "Jenny." The voice shattered her thoughts. It was Mark, breaking free from the crowd and striding toward her. He looked serious, determination etched into his features. "Hey," she replied, trying to mask the whirlwind inside. "I was looking for you," he said, his voice low. "Can we talk?" His words ignited something deep within her. Could this be the moment they started to strip away the layers? Could they begin to break down the walls of pretense and expectation? She took a small, hopeful breath, but the question still loomed large. "Yeah, I think so," she replied softly, her heart both racing and fluttering. But what would they unearth on this uncertain path? Would their connection thrive in the silence, or would it crumble like so many assumptions? She stepped toward him, ready to bridge the divide, but as they stood there, a new realization sank in. This conversation could change everything if she let it. What truly lay ahead for them both? Would they find the courage to cross the divide, or would they retreat back into the noise of the world? Mark stepped closer, his eyes searching hers, a mix of concern and eagerness reflected in his gaze. "I know this is all a lot," he began, glancing back at the crowd before focusing on her again. "But I feel like there's so much we haven't talked about. I don't want to just float around the edges anymore." Jenny felt the warmth creeping up her cheeks. His words carved through her apprehensions like a hot knife through butter. There was an intensity about him, a pull that made her brave enough to confront her own fears. But she also felt vulnerable, exposed in a way she had never planned for. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice a mere whisper carried off by a gentle breeze. It felt monumental, asking him to reveal himself when her own walls were so high. "I mean," he paused, taking a deep breath as if the weight of his own confession pressed down on him. "That I see you, Jenny. The real you. And I want to understand it, not just the person everyone else sees or expects. Just you." A knot formed in her throat. No one had ever perfectly articulated that her wants, her fears, the complexity of being seen but not understood. Yet, she also fought back the urge to retreat. Was he being sincere, or was this an illusion, crafted under the dim light of expectation and pretense? "And why would you do that?" she asked, the question tumbling from her lips with more urgency than she intended. "Because," he hesitated, wrestling with his own emotions. "Because I don't believe in superficial connections. I want something real, just like you." Hope flickered a tiny spark in the vast emptiness of her fears. But she knew she had to tread carefully. You live in a different world, Mark. I'm not sure I fit into it. Mark stepped forward, closing the distance. Then let us figure it out together. The determination in his voice sent ripples through her heart. Was it foolish to want this connection? To hope it could be enough to bridge the gap between their vastly different lives? As if sensing her conflict, Mark softened. Just give me a chance. Talk to me. Tell me what's really going on inside you. His eyes held hers, and it felt like a lifeline thrown to her from that swirling sea of doubt. Jenny's chest tightened. This was it, her moment. And yet, she found herself hesitating. Would sharing her fears, her burdens, allow them to grow closer, or would it only reveal more gaps? What if I can't do it? She finally blurted out, the words heavy with emotion. What if you can? He countered gently, but firmly, his gaze steady. The crowd faded into a blurry hum behind them, and all she could see was him, the sincerity in his eyes, the invitation he was offering. Suddenly the stakes felt higher. It was no longer just a casual conversation, but something that had the power to shift everything. Okay, she said, breathless. But it might not be pretty. I don't care about pretty, he said, with a soft smile that warmed her heart. I just want real. And in that moment, something in her cracked open. She could feel the rawness within her, the fears that she had fought so hard to suppress. Would she be brave enough to let it out? Would the darkness she carried finally see the light? As their eyes locked, the air hummed with possibilities, and Jenny wondered if she could finally let herself be seen. But before she could say more, the unmistakable sound of a loud laughter erupted from the crowd, snapping her back to reality. What would this conversation lead to? And would she have the strength to bear the weight of the truth once it was out? Here goes nothing, she thought, heart pounding, as she decided to take the leap. But before she spoke, another voice broke in, calling Mark's name from the distance, heavy with expectation and attachment, pulling him back into the world she was so desperate to escape. Will you stay? She asked, fear creeping in again. Would he vanish back into the crowd? Always, he promised, glancing back at her. But as a shadow loomed closer, Jenny couldn't shake the tension. Would their moment of revelation slip through her fingers just as the distance between their worlds pressed in? The laughter faded, but the chill of uncertainty crept in, wrapping around Jenny like a damp fog. She stood there, rooted in place, her heart thrumming. What if the weight of the truth crushed her before she even had a chance to share it? Mark's gaze lingered on her, but a figure emerged from the crowd. Tall and confident, with a magnetic presence that drew every eye, especially Mark's. It was only a split second, but Jenny felt the air squeeze between them. She knew that look, it was one of recognition, familiarity. She held her breath. Mark. The woman called, her voice bright, nearly musical. There you are. I was looking everywhere for you. Jenny's heart sank, a bitter taste settling in her mouth. Who was this person? Why did it feel like a wall had gone up between them in an instant? Mark's face shifted, the warmth that had painted his expression with sincerity now dimmed under the glimmer of surprise. Hey, Rachel, he responded, the smoothness of his voice failing to disguise an undercurrent of discomfort. Rachel strolled over, her long hair cascading over her shoulders, confidence radiating from her. There was a sharpness in her smile, and Jenny felt herself shrink in comparison. She was everything Jenny wasn't: polished, carefree, and effortlessly captivating. Are you ready for the next round? Rachel continued, oblivious to the emotional tide that had just swept through their small corner of the gathering. Everyone's waiting by the bar. Mark glanced back at Jenny, a silent plea in his gaze that she hoped to interpret as reassurance. I was just, he started, but Rachel's infectious energy pulled him back into the current of the crowd. Come on. You can't hide forever. She teased, grabbing his hand lightly and tugging him toward the laughter that beckoned like a siren's song. All at once, Jenny felt unmoored. She was no longer an intriguing enigma to Mark, no longer a person ready to share her depths. Instead, she was just the girl standing on the sidelines, watching the dance of familiarity unfold, the distance between them too wide to bridge. "I'll catch up," Mark called back over his shoulder, but Jenny could hear how tentative his voice was, as if he were trying to stave off the inevitable. She needed to act fast. Did Rachel even know who they were discussing? Did she see the flicker of something important shared just moments before? Seconds became heavy with indecision, the fear of vulnerability like a lead weight in her stomach. "Mark!" she finally shouted, her voice breaking through the noise. It felt urgent, an anchor that could pull him back. He turned to her, eyes widening at the rawness of her plea. Yet it was too late. Rachel had recognized his hesitation, and now her smile appeared more possessive, coaxing him away with a blend of charm and authority. The way Rachel stood against the vibrant backdrop, a spellbinding contrast to the uncertainty that surrounded Jenny, only highlighted the cracks forming in her resolve. Mark hesitated, sensing the shift in the air, the tension amplifying between the three of them, the curious girl, the confident woman, and the man caught reverently between. "Go!" Jenny called, unable to mask the tremor in her voice. "Enjoy yourself." Her words hung in the air, a mirror reflecting the larger picture of her own fears, the possibility that she may never fully let him in. But deep down, she longed for him to break free from the expectation surrounding them and choose the connection they had in that fleeting moment. As they walked away, laughter enveloped them, and Jenny couldn't shake the feeling of being an outsider in her own story. What lay beneath the surface? What hung in the balance if she didn't wrestle her truth into the light? A sudden thought struck her: she needed to act. Would she allow fear to win, or would she fight to reclaim the moment they almost shared? As she wrestled with that question, a flicker of determination ignited within her. She wouldn't be defeated without a fight. The world and this party still spun around her, beckoning her to step forward. But would she find the courage she needed in the chaos surrounding her? Or would she lose Mark entirely to a past she hadn't even known existed? Jenny took a deep breath, closing her eyes for just a moment, trying to shield herself from the onslaught of emotions. The laughter that echoed in the air felt foreign, a reminder of the connection she was about to lose. She opened her eyes again, her determination mounting with every beat of her heart. "Just go talk to him," she whispered to herself, but the words echoed hollowly against the buzz of voices swirling around her. She couldn't let this moment slip away. Not when it felt like everything was on the verge of changing. Turning on her heel, Jenny forced her way through the crowd. The atmosphere pulsed with excitement, a blur of colors and laughter. Each step took her closer to Mark and Rachel, who appeared to be enjoying themselves, lost in their world. It hurt to see Mark in that light, so carefree, while she felt like a shadow creeping along the edge. When she finally spotted them near the bar, Rachel was leaning in closely, her laughter spilling into the air as she played with a strand of her hair. She was doing everything right, flirty glances, easy gestures. Mark's smile, though genuine, wasn't the same as it had been when he had looked at Jenny just moments before. That smile had promised something more. "Hey!" Jenny called, her voice breaking through the noise and grabbing their attention. Rachel turned, brow furrowing slightly as her smile faltered, but Mark's eyes lit up. He stepped forward, breaking the wall of laughter and easy banter. "Jenny, I thought you might," he began, but faltered when Rachel's gaze sharpened back on him. Jenny could feel the tension in the air, thick and charged, as she moved closer. "I wanted to talk to you," she said directly to Mark, trying to keep her voice steady despite the nervous flutter in her chest. "I need to." Jenny. Rachel interjected with an easy laugh that felt like a knife in Jenny's chest. "We were just about to play another game. You should join us. Mark can fill you in later." Jenny glanced between them, frustration bubbling under her skin. Rachel's charm was suffocating, wrapping around Mark and drawing him away from her once again. The dread of losing him threatened to overwhelm her. "No, I really need to let us just have fun," Rachel insisted, her tone both light-hearted and dismissive. It was becoming all too clear, she wasn't interested in anybody else's feelings but her own. The game of politeness felt exhausting. "Mark." Come on, Jenny." "It's just a game," Mark said, attempting to defuse the situation. But there was something in his voice, a hesitation she'd grown too familiar with. It strained against her heart, the weight of their unspoken feelings pressing down like a heavy storm on the horizon. Suddenly, her resolve burst through. "No, wait. Please, just hear me out for a second." She didn't care how loud she sounded now or who was looking. The urgency in her voice startled him, and for a flickering moment, she saw an echo of concern in his eyes. Rachel crossed her arms, impatience etching lines on her face. "Seriously? Is this really necessary?" Jenny took a deep breath, her heart racing, but she wouldn't back down. "Yes, it is. I don't want to lose this chance to talk to you, Mark. Not over a game." As silence hit their trio, Jenny's words hung between them like a fragile thread. Mark's gaze locked onto hers, leaving Rachel behind in a haze of distraction. The spark of connection they shared earlier flickered again, wrestling against the tension that threatened to pull them apart. "Can we step outside?" Mark finally asked, his tone cautious but sincere. He could feel the weight of the moment, as both Rachel and Jenny held their breaths. But before she could answer, Rachel's voice rang out. "You don't need to have a serious conversation right now. Just come back and enjoy the party." Jenny's hope wavered. Could she step into her truth properly while being tugged in different directions? The forces around her felt equally compelling, but only one felt real. Would she find the strength to speak her truth, or would the fear of vulnerability drown it out forever? In that heated moment, Jenny realized, the reveal could not wait any longer. With her heart pounding, she faced Mark, a million thoughts swirling in her mind. "I have to tell you something important," but before she could continue, a loud crash rang through the crowd, drawing everyone's attention, including hers. Curiosity piqued, she followed the sound, wondering if this was a distraction or a sign that something was about to change everything. Would it be the moment she'd been waiting for, or another twist that would unravel her? As the crowd began to murmur, her heart raced again, aware that this unexpected turn could lead down a path she'd never anticipated. The noise of the party morphed into a sea of whispers as Jenny turned to find the source of the crash. A chandelier had fallen, glass shards scattering across the dance floor like glittering stars fallen from the sky. The crowd gasped, eyes darting between the chaos and the center of attention, where a few people gathered at the scene. Jenny's heart pounded not from the fear of injury but from the sudden shift in energy. It was as if the universe had intervened, momentarily blocking out Rachel's laughter and the heaviness of her unresolved feelings for Mark. This could be her shot, her chance to draw Mark away from the mess of charm Rachel had woven around him. "Mark, let us go check it out," she said, urging him to follow her lead. She grasped his elbow, pulling him toward the gathering crowd. "Wait, Jenny, maybe we should," he started but didn't finish. The look in her eyes, the determination, the flicker of hope broke through his hesitation, and he allowed her to guide him. As they moved closer, adrenaline surged through her. This was the moment. The chaos of the moment felt liberating, refreshing, even. It created a space where she could breathe. When they reached the circle of people, all Jenny could see was the aftermath, the broken glass and concerned faces. She met the gaze of a man wearing a sharp suit, exuding authority and panic as he directed the security team. He looked like someone who belonged in charge, someone she recognized but couldn't place. "Is anyone hurt?" Mark asked, scanning the area anxiously. "No, just some cuts, but we need to get the glass cleaned up," the suited man replied, his voice steady but urgent. Jenny glanced at Mark. This was their opportunity to break away from Rachel's grasp without directly confronting her. She squeezed his arm again, her voice low. "Let us step outside for a minute. I promise we'll come back." Curiosity mixed with a sudden sense of urgency lit Mark's features. "Okay. Let us go." They slipped out into the cool night air, the noise of the party dulling behind them. The contrast was sharp, as the silence enveloped them. Jenny leaned against the cool brick wall of the building, trying to steady her nerves. Each breath was laced with anticipation. Mark turned to her, eyes searching. "What did you want to say?" She paused, heart racing, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down. The words she had rehearsed in her mind felt fragile, teetering on the edge of fear and desire. This was her chance to shatter the boundaries built by fear by Rachel, by all the self-doubt that had plagued her. But she hesitated. Images of Mark laughing with Rachel crashed over her like waves. What if she poured out her feelings and he didn't feel the same? The possibility gnawed at her. "Jenny?" Mark's voice broke through her spiraling thoughts. There was a softness in it that made her stomach flutter. She swallowed hard, every inch of her wanting to spill her heart out. "I need you to know that I care about you. More than I've let on. More than just friends." The world around them blurred. An electric tension crackled in the air, pulling them closer and making her pulse race. "Jenny," he said, moving slightly closer, searching her eyes for something. I care about you too." Her breath caught in her throat. This was at the moment she dreamt of. But before she could respond, the sound of Rachel's laugh shattered the moment like glass breaking again. They turned to see Rachel approaching, her smile wide and carefree, completely unaware of the gravity of their conversation. Her heart sank as she sensed the familiar tug of despair. The moment that felt so close slipped further away, and doubt crept back in like a thief in the night. "What are you two doing out here?" Rachel's chirpy voice was bright against the backdrop of their intimate conversation. Mark shifted slightly, the warmth in his eyes dimming. "Just needed some fresh air." Rachel's gaze flitted between them, suspicion knitting her brows. Instinctively, Jenny stepped back, wondering if she'd lost her moment to truth again. But as they rejoined the party, Jenny realized that stepping back wouldn't be an option this time. There had to be a way to steer things back to the conversation they started outside. As the celebrations resumed around them, she knew she had to fight for her truth. Mark could be hers. But how would she break free from Rachel's hold once and for all? Determination surged through her. She took a deep breath, preparing to reclaim her voice. Just then, a sudden scream cut through the party once more, and heads turned in alarm. What now? Jenny's heart raced even faster, aware that another twist was unfolding before her. Would the chaos help her find the courage she needed, or would it close another door? The party's atmosphere went from festive to frantic in an instant. Guests whipped around, eyes wide, trying to locate the source of the scream. It was shrill and desperate, contrasting sharply against the background music and laughter. Jenny felt a tight knot in her stomach. What could it be? She glanced at Mark, who was already searching the room. Their intimate moment outside seemed like a lifetime ago, and she needed to act quickly before Rachel or anyone else stole this chance from her. "Stay here," Jenny whispered, though she knew Mark wouldn't do as he was told. He had that look, that protective instinct flaring up. "Are you kidding?" "I'm coming with you," he said, his tone firm yet low. Together, they pushed through the crowd, dancing around startled guests who seemed frozen in confusion. At the edge of the dance floor, near the bar, they finally spotted a girl kneeling on the floor, cradling another girl's hand. The girl on the floor looked pale, her face contorted in pain, while the other was trying to bandage a gash on her friend's palm with a cocktail napkin. "It's okay, it's going to be fine." The girl's voice trembled as she looked for help. Jenny felt a rush of sympathy. She squeezed Mark's arm, nodding toward the scene. "Let us help them," she urged, urgency flooding through her. Both of them hurried over. "What happened?" Mark asked, bending down to assess the situation. "I think she cut her hand on the glass," the girl explained, her voice catching in her throat. "The chandelier, it just fell." "Someone call an ambulance." Jenny knelt beside them, her heart racing. "I'll help." "Can you apply pressure on that cut?" "Yes." The girl nodded, grateful yet scared. Jenny took off her scarf, tearing it into strips before leaning closer to the injured girl. "This might sting a little," she warned gently, placing the scarf against the gash. "Just hang in there." "Help is coming," Mark reassured her, his voice steady, even as his worry lined his features. Jenny could see the warmth in his eyes, the way he cared, and it fueled her resolve. As they tended to the girl, the atmosphere shifted again. Amidst the commotion, Rachel broke through the crowd. Jenny's heart sank as she saw her approach, and she couldn't decipher the look on Rachel's face. Was it concern? Irritation? Or something darker, as if she sensed her hold slipping? "Is everyone okay?" Rachel asked, her voice teetering on the edge of false concern as she glanced around at the gathering crowd. "Just some cuts, a serious one," Mark replied sharply, a hint of tension creeping into his tone. The injured girl winced, and Jenny felt the urgency to comfort her. "You'll be okay. The paramedics are on their way," she assured, but all the while, her mind was racing about Rachel's imminent interference. "Why are you out here?" Rachel's voice sliced through the air, catching Jenny's attention. "Didn't you want to go back inside? Or reclaim your truth as you said?" The challenge in Rachel's words burned in Jenny. She could feel the daggers behind her friend's seemingly innocent smile. It wasn't the right moment, but this was another jab thrown her way. "Not everything is about you, Rachel," Jenny said, injecting strength into her voice, surprising even herself. Mark shot her a glance, something in his eyes flickering with pride. This was the clarity she needed, a sense of purpose rising above the chaos. As Rachel opened her mouth, ready to retort, the distant sound of sirens cut through the air, and a wave of relief washed over Jenny. Help was on the way. But as she looked back at Mark, caught in the tension, she could sense that the confrontation was far from over. "Jenny, wait," he started, and she could see that he wanted to say more. Before she could reply, Rachel interrupted again, and the tension hung thick like fog. Would this chaos help her take control, or would it spiral out of her hands? The sirens drew closer, and Jenny felt that the night was just beginning to unravel, the truth wrapped tightly in this moment. What would it unveil? A hushed murmur began to weave through the crowd as partygoers welcomed the flashing lights of the emergency vehicles that pulled up outside. The atmospheric buzz that had once led to laughter and celebration now morphed into a thick, nervous energy as guests became keenly aware of the chaos unfolding before them. Jenny's attention was divided. She wanted to focus on the injured girl, to give her the steadiness she needed. Yet, Rachel's relentless presence added a weight that felt almost suffocating. An ambulance door swung open, and two paramedics emerged, each carrying a medical bag and a sense of purpose that emboldened Jenny's spirit. "Thank God," Jenny breathed, relief flooding through her. She dared a glance back at Rachel, whose expression darkened into a brooding storm. "Help is here," she called out to the injured girl, who glanced up through squinted eyes filled with pain. The paramedics sprinted toward them, their professionalism slicing through the chaos like a beacon of hope. "Step back, please," one of them commanded, and Jenny instinctively moved away, giving them space to work. She felt Mark slip his hand into hers, squeezing tightly, grounding her amidst the falling pieces of the night. "Stay with us," the paramedic said as he examined the cut, sending a shiver of innocence through Jenny. The girl nodded, their calm voices soothing her anxiety as she let out a small whimper. As they set to work, Jenny's heart raced not just from worry, but from the realization that Rachel was still standing there, arms crossed, watching everything transpire with an unsettling quietness. It was a challenge and a reminder that she wouldn't back down easily. "Why do you even care?" Rachel finally broke the silence, her tone sharp, an underlying challenge to Jenny's resolve. "You weren't close to her before tonight." Mark's jaw tightened, his protective nature flaring again. "Now is not the time, Rachel," he retorted. But Rachel surged back with a steely gaze. "You've been so focused on proving something, Jenny. Look where that's got you. An injured girl and a circus of drama all to be the hero?" The words hit harder than Jenny expected. Each syllable felt like a direct shot, provoking doubts that crept in unexpectedly. Was she trying too hard to be someone she wasn't? She flicked her gaze away from Rachel, unwilling to let those insecurities surface. She needed to stay focused on helping, on being present for someone who clearly needed it. Meanwhile, the paramedics began bandaging the girl's hand. Jenny could see her relax under their care. "It's going to be okay," the older one assured her. "You're in good hands." Tension lingered, a heavy shroud still blanketing them. As Rachel attempted to interject again, potential chaos bloomed just outside the perimeter of the party. A group of friends, visibly stunned and a bit tipsy, gathered to catch snippets of the scene, whispering amidst each other with curiosity and concern. Jenny felt a new wave of determination, one born not from defensiveness but from clarity. This was bigger than herself. "I'm helping her. That's all that matters," she declared, turning to face Rachel fully. In that moment, Rachel faltered. A flicker of something less hostile flashed across her eyes. Had Jenny struck a chord? The air around them crackled with unresolved tension. Before Rachel could respond, another siren echoed, adding to the urgency. The paramedics loaded the girl onto a stretcher, and Jenny leaned in closer, ensuring her friend knew she wasn't alone. "You'll be okay. They'll take good care of you," she whispered. The girl nodded again, her eyes flickering with gratitude. But as they wheeled her away, Jenny felt a sharp pull in her gut, a foreboding sense of danger at hand. Rachel had something to say. Rachel always did. "Why do you want to help her, Jenny?" Rachel finally questioned, her tone cold and cutting. "What does this really mean for us?" Before Jenny could answer, Mark stepped between them again, shielding her from Rachel's words. "It means everything, Rachel," he said, his voice low yet controlled. Jenny's heart wrapped around those words. Maybe this moment was more than just a chaotic party mishap. It was about confronting their truths. But which truth was she ready to embrace, and at what cost? As they followed the ambulance towards the street, Jenny felt the turbulence within her twist into something profound. In this swirling mix of care and confrontation, one question lingered in her mind: would her bravery here extend far beyond this night, and who would it truly set free? The ambulance lights flashed like stars in a chaotic galaxy, illuminating faces among the crowd. Perfectly framed by the swirling chaos, Jenny felt a deep-seated resolve prick at her heart. This night had spiraled into more than she ever imagined, and she was determined to take back control, not just for the girl who was injured, but for herself as well. Stepping forward, she spoke to Mark, their hands still clasped tight. "I don't want to fight over who cares more. It's not a competition." She turned to face Rachel, their gazes locking, the air rich with unspoken words. "It's about being real, something we've all avoided." Rachel's demeanor shifted, just a bit, like the wind changing direction. "Real? You think this is about being real?" She scoffed, but her voice had lost some of its edge. Maybe raw honesty was cutting through layers of pretense. The paramedics finished their work, and they moved towards the ambulance with the girl. As the crowd began to disperse, a sense of urgency grew inside Jenny. She had to seize the moment the truth in her heart demanded to be spoken. "Mark!" She shouted over the fading noise, pulling him back to her. He paused, brow furrowed, and she caught her breath. "We can't just wander back into that party without clearing this up. Not with Rachel constantly around." He nodded, understanding festering within his gaze. You're right. We're dodging the conversation. Then let us have it, she said, emboldened by adrenaline coursing through her. The truth, whatever it holds, let us lay it all out there. They stepped away from the chaos, searching for a quiet moment amid the echoes of confusion. Mark's expression shifted. It was raw and honest, just like she wanted. I care about you, Jenny. I have from the start, he admitted softly, their eyes reflecting sincerity and fear. A brush of warmth enveloped her heart. I've cared too. But it felt like I was standing on the edge of your perfect world, looking in. Tears brimmed in her eyes but didn't spill over. How could you see the real me? His gaze grew intense. Because I see someone fighting to be more than they've been told they can be. You come alive when you're true to yourself, Jenny, not just the girl everyone else thinks you should be. As he spoke, clarity washed over her. Maybe this chaos, the chandelier, the crowd, the noise had stripped away their pretenses. In this moment, there was a sliver of truth that rang clear. Love could exist, but only if both of them embraced their authentic selves. Then let us do this together, she urged, heart racing at the prospect. I want that connection. I want to be with you, fully. At that moment, Rachel approached them again, but Jenny blocked her out. You need to understand something, she began, forcing herself to remain confident. I may not fit into your world, Rachel, but I won't let that overshadow what I have with Mark. I won't let you define my worth. Rachel's expression faltered, surprise flickering across her face. Maybe other people were becoming aware of the truth behind their confrontation. Then Mark stepped forward, wrapping an arm around Jenny's shoulders and casting a protective shadow over her. And that's the thing, Rachel. We're not looking for approval from anyone. Not from you. Not from the chatter of the town. Just us. In that instant, the air shifted. Jenny could feel it, the tension between them melted, replaced by a swell of empowerment. The crowd had faded away, and all that remained was a moment shared, just between the three of them. I don't want to fight with you, Jenny, Rachel conceded, the defiance draining from her. But I won't sit on the sidelines either. I want to be part of this world. I want what you two have, even if it looks different. Tension rippled through Jenny as she took it in. It's okay to want connection, she replied openly. But it can't come at the cost of tearing someone else down. I can't let myself go back to being silent just to uphold somebody else's expectations anymore. Their eyes locked, and Jenny felt a newfound camaraderie rippling beneath the surface. Maybe this chaotic night would forge something deeper, a collective understanding that transcended their individual desires. As they stood there, vulnerable, the noise from the crowd began to fade to a dull murmur, and amid the chaos, the three of them could make sense of the shimmering energy of that night, a connection built on honesty, courage, and resilience. Can we all agree? Mark said, as he glanced between Jenny and Rachel, his expression hopeful. Let us leave the competition behind. We're all just trying to navigate through life, aren't we? Rachel nodded slowly, something fragile yet genuine flickering in her eyes. Yeah, okay. I'm with you. But let us all be honest through this. With those words, a new path emerged before them, a chance to rebuild connections on the foundation of authenticity. It wouldn't be easy, but just like in life, true courage often required stepping into the unknown. As the night deepened, the weight of the evening lifted slightly. They had taken steps toward forging their truths. Mark held Jenny close, the bond between them charged in a way that felt full of promise, and in that small touch, Jenny felt a flicker of hope ignite, one that had started from chaos but blossomed into something beautiful. As the first hints of dawn began to paint the sky, Jenny smiled, knowing that whatever came next would be theirs to navigate together. From that moment forward, she vowed never again to let fear steal her voice, nor allow doubts to redefine her worth. It was a new beginning, a journey into the light of their interconnected stories, and Jenny felt a warmth blooming in her chest, knowing they would find their way together. And as you finish this journey with us, let this be a reminder: subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that touch your heart. Hit that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. It truly makes a difference. Comment your feelings about this emotional ending. We're eager to hear your thoughts. And don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformational journey. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.